Chapter 1. The Medial Sagi. The life story of a whole family of knights, fulfilling a mission in distant lands. The blue planet is a global ocean, with 2 huge continents and countless islands. In one of those continents between this, there is a mountain range, with tens of thousands of mountains. In the vicinity of the Xkalistar citadel, inside the Medial temple, the advanced disciples are practicing with laser swords in the main courtyard. While in a chamber deep inside the temple, the great supreme teacher, local leader, who is an old folkier, is meditating deeply. Some strange images come to his mind, an orange desert, and a temple among the mountains. And the sinister evil entity, who has the form of a perfidious skull, laughing macabrely. Noticing the metaphysical presence of the great master Medial. Opening his eyes, he yells, "No!" In one of the rooms, Pantida Zevio is teaching a dozen disciples. About 25 years old, he had been a monk since he was orphaned in his childhood. A duel with laser swords simulated with wooden sticks, between 2 disciples enlivens the place. One of the trainees makes a comment. "It was almost, but next time you won't escape." Zevio intervenes. "No, this is not the authentic path, students, gather before me." The upright Master Zevio summons everyone to give them an explanation, and they all sit on their knees in front of him. The handle of the laser sword represents childhood, the learning period of a Medial knight. He powers up the laser sword by turning the activation knob. The beam of light represents the path of life that must be followed. He turns off the sword. "My disciples, the laser sword is never a weapon and should never be used as such. It just represents a purpose. And they should never forget that the path is much more important than the destination point. This is the philosophy of us, the Medials. This is how we were trained as monks. And this is how we became knights. Enter a Khanide race." "Excuse me, Master Zevio, but the Supreme Grand Master wishes to speak with you." Zevio only answers. Continue with the class, practicing in pairs of 2. The Pantida walks through a corridor and enters the room in which is meditating the great supreme folkier teacher. Squatting in front of him. "Great Master, did you want to see me?" Folkier: "Yes. I have been meditating for several days. And I sense a serious disturbance in the Vita Loki energy. This event kept me very elusive for years. And now that I have dedicated whole days to it, I feel a great consternation. It is the most serious disturbance that I have ever seen." Zevio asks. "How serious is the situation?" Folkier: "Sometimes evil has to exist for good to know what good is." Zevio: "Then it is the sacred duty of a Medial knight to solve any problem. Where should we start the task, great supreme teacher?" Folkier: "In my visions, an orange desert appeared, and a temple between the mountains called Talama." He puts his hand to his chin. There must be hundreds of kingdoms with that name in the whole solarium system. The orange desert could be the one that owns the orange planet. This would shorten the search." The old folkier continues. "This event has been brewing for centuries, and it is very serious. You must get the main instrument to end all evil in that region. A sacred sword that would put an end to the sinister." Getting up. Zevio: "With your permission, Great Master. I would like to take one of my former disciples, the Norda teacher, on this mission. And also to some other student of the temple. We will leave as soon as we are ready, Great Teacher." In another giant room of the Medial temple, the 21-year-old gargoyle, named Norda, has half a dozen students. As prospectors, examining their possibilities in the mastery of mind over matter. His most advanced apprentice, the 16-year-old orc, named Lyast Kurlog, levitates his laser sword from his hands, spinning it through the power of mind. Meanwhile Norda teacher explains to the rest. Should feel the Vita Loki energy flow throughout the body and around. And they must be able to control it using only the power of the mind. These are the abilities of the Medial Knights. Lyast adds. Wizards also use magical energies, but they invoke them based on spoken spells. On the other hand, a Medial Knight uses only the power of his own mind over matter. Zevio enters the room. Norda disciples, greet the upright master Zevio. He was my teacher at the time. The 5 apprentices bow, bowing their heads and repeating in chorus. Greetings Master Integer Zevio. Norda, I will need your help for my next mission, are you interested? Norda yes, of course, teacher. Zevio and we also need some advanced apprentice to join us. The gargoyle points to the orc. He is Lyast Kurlog, and he is my best disciple, he can accompany us without problems. Teacher flatters me. I will be very pleased to serve you and the teacher Zevio. Then we will prepare to leave immediately. The Pantida, the gargoyle, and the orc leave the Medial temple, and head towards a walled citadel, which is located at the foot of the mountain, already half a dozen kilometers from home. Inside the small citadel, there is a stone rail, elevated, that extends to both sides, losing itself at the ends of both horizons. A magnetic train arrives at the citadel, and the passengers enter. With the train running, Zevio, we must find a place called Talama, according to the visions of the great supreme leader. Is surrounded by an orange desert, we may have to travel to that planet. Norda, that's why we have to go to the citadel of Xkalistar, to take a transport that will take us to that world. Zevio, the first thing we must do is locate that kingdom in the great library, then see how to get there. Lyast, this is my first mission Master Zevio. I hope it works out for me. Zevio, you will do well Lyast, you just have to trust your instincts and everything you learned at the Medial temple. The magnetic train continues its march at full speed on the stone rail. It will take more than an hour to reach the great citadel of Xkalistar. From there we will go to the public library to review the maps and thus find this kingdom of Talama. In the distance, they can see the gigantic citadel of Xkalistar, an impressive complex of massive ivory towers, with buildings linked to each other through hanging bridges, with 3 main towers that reach a couple of 100 meters high. Hundreds of buildings follow them in chorus, forming a kind of circular pyramid of sticks, with the towers from largest to smallest. Up to the outer walls, a large number of airships of all sizes and types fly their skies. Xkalistar looks like a gigantic metropolis city, but at the same time, compacted to a diameter of 5 kilometers. The Master Pantida only comments. We are already arriving at the great citadel of Xkalistar. The magnetic train approaches closer and closer, and enters the impressive citadel. Through a special railway tunnel, walk through the interior of the impressive city. Xkalistar is an impressive but compacted megametropolis that fits in 5 kilometers in diameter. To the huge buildings, we must add a large number of transport airships, of passengers, taxis, cargo, etc., that circulate everywhere, forming authentic aerial highways. Thousands of years ago, everything was a gigantic mountain of solid ivory, which was facing the sea. The inhabitants of the place were carving the rock, polishing it, little by little, from top to bottom. And so, over the centuries, the useless layers were removed, and the citadel came to light. The train reaches the opposite end, passing through the entire city center, and arriving at the terminal station, near the airport. The train stops and the passengers get off, including the medials. The gargoyles, their wings, can be folded up to use them as a cape. This is how Norda teacher uses her wings when walking through the crowd that goes from here to there. The Pantida and the gargoyle had already been in the great metropolis before. Not so the young orc, who exclaims surprised by everything he sees. Lyast, it's awesome. Zevio, come on. Norda, the airport is in that direction. Zevio, yes, but first we must go to the library. Cab. A mini airship taxi takes the 3 Medial Knights to the public library. Inside the building, she librarian, of a Pisophoid race, attends to them. How can I help you, Medial gentleman? Zevio, we are looking for a kingdom called Talama, and we believe that it is located on the Orange Planet. On a shelf that containing hundreds of data cubes made of white crystal, she librarian takes one of them and places it on a surreal computer, a huge grey glass polished to flat, which projects a holographic map, and the librarian puts the data cube to display the information it contains. Pisophoida Talama, Talama, there are 5 places with that name or similar on the orange planet. Detailed maps can be found on Rimba shelf number 15. In an adjoining room. Here are the data. I'm sorry, I can't help you more without you giving me more information. Zevio: yes, that's fine, we'll know how to manage from here, thanks for everything, librarian. Norda spreads the maps on a table. Meanwhile, Zevio passes his hand through different areas of it. Using his dowsing powers, sensing where what you want is, using a plane. Until near the southeast area of the planisphere. Here it is, I can feel it. Liest Master Zevio, how come? Norda: are mental powers of dowsing, they are used to find what one is looking for on the maps. Maybe one day you will develop these mental powers too, Liest. Zevio: this kingdom is located near the southeastern mountains, and is surrounded by the Orange Desert. Just as predicted by the Supreme Great Master. Norda: look, this kingdom here, Xkalistar, has an airport. There will almost certainly be transport airships traveling to the location. Zevio: and from there we will have to continue on our way to the southeast. Arriving at the city airport, a gigantic hangar with access to the outside. Zevio: we are Medile's knights, we seek to go to the kingdom of Xkalistar, that is on the orange planet, in order to continue on the way to the kingdom of Talama, to the south. Reviewing a list, the Yakarde breed inspector tells them. A transport airship will depart in a couple of hours to that place. I can reserve a cabin for you. Zevio: yes, that will be fine. Then later that day, Zevio, Norda and Liest Kurlog are in the cabin along with the Pisophoid captain. The Aero Corvette, mixed ship with airship, part flight. Captain: so, you are Medile Knights, isn't it so? I had to take some to other planets, but this is the first time that I have to take them to the Orange World. Zevio: and actually we must go to a place called Talama. Captain: Talama? Zevio: yes, according to the visions of our great master, it is a place surrounded by mountains. Captain: yes, it is the Talam mountain range, it has thousands of mountains that form it, and the Talsar River is born there. And in the delta where it ends, the citadel of Xkalistar is built, where we are going. Zevio: and in that mountain range is the kingdom of Talama? Captain: I know of a place called Talamaska, which is at the foot of a mountain, but not surrounded by many of them. Norda: will it be the place we are looking for? Zevio: yes, it's possible. It is located on the orange planet, and there are mountains nearby, it must be the place of the great master's visions. Liest: and how long will the trip take us? Captain: we are flying over the eastern sea. We must stop at the citadel of Turkalion, and then continue on the way to Mitron. Where is the dimensional portal to the orange planet? It will take us about 2 weeks of travel, more or less. Zevio: yes, it's okay Captain, we're in no hurry. Norda: Xkalistar is our final stop, isn't it? Captain: yes, and there will still be a long way to go to reach Xkalistar. And the kingdom of Talamaska that you seek is further still. And I don't think there are any transport airships to that southeastern region. Zevio: will have to fend for ourselves once we get to Xkalistar. Out of the clouds and out of nowhere, another airship rises, approaching from half a kilometer away. Norda: look Captain. That aero galleon over there is approaching us. Captain: this approach is not normal. Norda: if they continue like this they will crash into us. The aero galleon quickly takes out its pirate flag, black background with a wolfer skull and 2 crossed swords. Captain is Sango. They are air pirates. Sound the alarm. Everyone to your stations. The airship encounters air pirates, and the Medile Knights must fight them. A duct of wooden palisades unites both aircraft. Captain: too late, they are approaching us. Zevio, we will take charge, Captain. Activating the laser swords being, the three Medile Knights face the robots and other pirates that try to enter. Zevio, let's go. We will give him the fight on board his aircraft. A Soroid named Corso, noticed the signature weapon of a Medile Knight, a laser sword. Running into the cabin, he yells, "Captain Sango!" There were some Medile Knights in the transport airship. Right now they are attacking us. Sango, what? Abort everything. Zevio, Norda and Lyst continue with a laser sword blow, from here to there. The Pantida orders. Go aft, look for the propulsion engines and destroy them. They both answer without hesitation. The pirate Wolfer faces the Pantida. Sango yells, "Medile Knight!" Zevio kills another of the pirates, when he turns around to identify the leader of all of them. The Wolfer shouts furiously, "Sango! I've faced the Mediles before, that's why I know that electric swords are used to restrain the laser." And taking a special sword from the wall, he activates a switch that makes from the very tip. Sparks appear that try to return to the edge in order to close the electrical circuit. Hitting each other with great fury, both face each other. Zevio, in a fast, fluid, accurate and perfect movement, takes the initiative, giving a balanced jump and directed a thrust to the Wolfer's shoulder and would have killed him instantly, if it weren't for the fact that he was trained in the art of the stabbing sword, giving and knowing how to counter a straight frontal thrust. The Wolfer recoiled from the impact. But immediately he recovered his balance, turned on itself and he charged with his sword horizontal, at the height of his shoulders. Sword that was restrained by the laser, getting electrical sparks from the blow. Fighting in a reduced space, between the corridors that join the cabins. The Pantida is agile, dodging the deadly thrusts of the Wolfer pirate. The Pantida feints with a jump, and looking like he would attack from the left, when he would go to do it from the right. Supporting his foot to pivot down the wall, falling in the opposite direction to which the Wolfer was, just. The pirate's quick reflexes prevented him from falling into this lunge that would have been fatal. The electric sword that the pirate uses touches the skin of the Pantida, and the discharge is felt. Screaming in pain, training Medile does serve to do great things, like regaining composure. They both stood still for a moment, to catch their breath. Both move in a circle, studying each other with wary eyes from behind their edges. Laser from one, electric from the other. Zevio took a step forward and went on guard. He didn't say anything or show anything obvious. He made a feint. It seemed that he would attack from the right when he actually swung the sword straight at him. Safe and firm to the left, trying to pierce his stomach. They both stood guard, legs bent, ready to attack at any time. After a while he saw a gap in his enemy's guard. That, enraged by his attack, had neglected his defense. The Medile Knight leaned forward and took advantage of the movement to hit him. A dry punch to the jaw, something that made the pirate lose initiative and coherence. Then he saw another hole in the Wolfer's defense, and took the opportunity to elbow him in the face, with the backspin back. While both swords, the laser and the electric one, continued to clash with each other. Sango, being caught off guard, screams in pain, a scream that echoed throughout the airship. The gargoyle and his orc disciple continue to fight each other, until they listen to the angry aggression that comes from the bow area. He approaches to verify that everything was fine. Norda yells worried. Zevio. There, Wolfer Sango comes to know the name of his adversary. Zevio, I'll be fine, take care of the rest of the airship. Yes, master. The gargoyle responds without hesitation, that the most important thing is to leave the pirate aircraft disabled and damaged, so that the rest could continue on their way. In the stern area below deck, where the steam engines are, Lyst destroys the boiler piston that rotates one of the turboprops. Well, the other one is missing. Norda, when cutting a cloth with the laser sword, which causes a fire. The flames are spreading everywhere. concluding his fight against the leading pirate. Zevio, we must retire, there is nothing more we can do here. The Mediles return to their air corvette, while they cut the boarding gangway. The pirate's air galleon is catching fire, as it moves away, and then crash on beaches of a deserted island. The Pisophoid captain appreciates the brave work of the Medile Knights. For the rest of the days, the airship journey continues quietly for the Mediles. Entering the dimensional portal that takes them to the Orange Planet. They come out in the cosmic hole that formed around the Portalic Fortress, a citadel of orcs. Already on the Orange Planet, those who manage the portal, charging their toll fee for using it. Then the airship continues to fly, crossing Kallax Lake. And 100 kilometers traveled. The captain clarifies. There, on the horizon, we can see the elven city of Xkalistar. Liest we reached the end. Zevio, not yet, we still have a long way to go to reach Talama. Chapter 2. The Two Swords. The arrival in the kingdom that has that symbol on its flag banner. Xkalistar is a magnificent city, built on the delta of the Talsar River, in the 30s. Of islands and islets that arose there, being almost practically the Venice of the Orange Planet. Grandiose buildings, some up to 4 stories high, with wide bridges that tie it all together. There are only small avenues and alleys, medium-sized streets are not listed for reasons of space. The city continues to the margins, where there are some buildings next to an airport, and after this begins a palisade with low walls, as the only protection. Though the city may be invaded by sea, a powerful own fleet would prevent it. This is where the Medile Knights arrived in their quest to solve whatever the problem envisioned by their great master leader. The corvette airship is anchored in the river port, with its peons taking out the goods for exchange. Meanwhile, among the alleys of the citadel of Xkalistar, Elfir Talama. I don't know of any kingdom with that name, but there is one called Talamasca. It is located at the foot of the Talam Mountains, it is towards the southeast. They must continue upriver, it will be about 2 weeks on foot. Zevio, well, thanks for everything. Continuing chatting with the inhabitants, to gather more information about the destination point. Talamasca is where the Talsar River originates. They could look for a boat that will bring them upriver. A ship traveling up the river, to the citadel of Volgert, the capital of the neighboring kingdom to the south. From there, the journey will be even shorter and shorter. Volgert, the capital of the Fokir kingdom of Volgonia, final destination of the last transport. The Mediles have to continue on their way, step by step. Leaving the magnificent citadel, only rough roads remain. Made with crushed stone, with wooden planks on top, to give it a certain support. The rains, the mud, and the weight of the traffic, are in charge of molding everything so that the road remains firm with time. Walking through the countryside. Come to the Zapiris, giants of the sky like cows. They stay afloat using huge natural bags where they collect hydrogen. Liest Master Zevio, what are those things? Zapiris are wild animals. Collect hydrogen gas in natural pockets that they have on their back, so they stay afloat in the air. Gargoyle Norda notes. They say that hundreds of years ago, the Zapiris were the ones who inspired the geniuses to create the airships. An air cruiser, an elongated tubular dirigible, sails above the Mediles. On its sides, on its back and belly, it has its banner. The symbol of magic, the triangle with medium points pointing downwards, surrounded by an internal circle all in yellow on a red background. Norda, look, Master Zevio, it's a transport airship. We could have taken it to get to the region faster. Zevio, no. Have you seen their symbol? It is a transport belonging to the Bankal clan. I highly doubt they would have even come close. The orc asks. The Bankal clan? Zevio, yes, it is a financial political monopoly, they must have viceroyalties in the region. The days go by, walking all the way up the river. On one of those nights, in an inn in the kingdom of Kiritania. Zevio and we are looking for the kingdom of Talama. Fouquier, yes, it is the Talim mountain range, and at the foot of the mountains, is the Orc kingdom of Talamasca. You must continue upriver 100 kilometers. Their king is called Zorlok, I believe. Zevio, on the way here, we saw Bankal clan airships. Fouquier, yes, they have a viceroyalty to the south, they are dispersed colonies and they seek to unite them into one. Norda, so traveling south, the situation worsens? Fouquier, yes, I'm afraid. Also on the river, there is an island where the citadel of Rilder is located. The capital of his viceroyalty in this region. Norda, perhaps this would be the warning that the great Supreme Master glimpsed with his visions. Zevio, I think we are on the right track. Refueling at the taverns that remain on the long road to the south, walking by day, parking at night. What else do you know about that kingdom? Its capital citadel is called Talamiscal. It is a kingdom of orcs, and their king is called Zorlok. The days continue to pass. Of the approximately 2 weeks it will take them to walk from Kalinar to Talamiscal. To halfway, is the citadel of Rilder. Contemplating everything from a hill. The Talsar River forks into two, with an island of just over half a kilometer, where the imposing place was built. Nearby, there is an airport, where air cruisers land, with their load of droids battle robots armed to the teeth. Zevio, the citadel of Rilder. Norda, until now, what the locals told us was true. Liest, what do we do, masters? Do we go inside? Zevio, yes. I'm curious to see what this viceroyalty is like locally. Rilder's citadel, built on an island in the Talsar River, has an entrance with an exit on the other side. There are at least 4 bridges to unite the island with both sides. With a river port in the widest north part of the river. Inside, it is a very bustling place, with many people coming from other kingdoms to trade. With squads of droids guarding every street, and with a palace in between. Where the regents of the Zargon, Yakards, Remlanians. The walls cover it, although on the outskirts, leaving the main island. There are villages of small houses around. If they wanted to conquer the citadel, they would besiege it from the outside, and they would enter by the river. First taking the outer quarter, then invading the island itself. The Mediles continue on their way, having passed practically unnoticed among the crowd. A few days later, already near destination. At sunset, continuing along the path, a sign welcomes travelers. The Orc Kingdom has its banner flag, made up of 2 crossed red swords on a blue background. Norda, we arrived at the Kingdom of Talamasca. Liest, at last. Zevio, this is just a border post. The capital of the kingdom must be several kilometers ahead. The gargoyle clarifies. From the landmark marks, we must be about 50 kilometers from their capital. Zevio, it will be dark soon, we will rest here. We will get up early to continue on our way. And reach their main citadel around noon. At dusk in the middle of the forest, between a campfire. Zevio, something tells me that we are on the right track. We are heading to the kingdom of Talamasca, just as the Supreme Master predicted. And this kingdom seems to have problems with the Bankal clan, as the locals warn us. The gargoyle notes. Apparently it will be a short mission. Liest, not so much for the trip, Norda teacher. Before some noises from the bushes, the Pantida exclaims. Be careful. I sense something evil that is approaching us. The 3 Mediles draw their laser swords. A dozen skeletons emerge from the forest, though they are no match for the Mediles. Liest, skeletons? The gargoyle exclaims. Yes, but it's strange, the Bankal clan doesn't use magic. The teacher guide intuits. There is no doubt that it is the work of a sorcerer. Maybe it's the one that caused the problem in Talamasca. Just as the great master glimpsed with his visions. Killing the last remaining skeletons, it's no longer a problem. Even using the telekinetic powers of a Medile, to make the stones hit the bones. The gargoyle notes. I don't think we've traveled that far in so many days, just to face some skeletons. Zevio, yes, I agree with you, Norda, whatever, we'll find out when we reach our destination. The spy shadows entities of evil volumetric darkness that serve perverse ends. They keep watching them from the darkness of the bushes. With the first light of dawn, the Mediles rise, having taken turns on night watches, for fear that the skeletons would appear again. Continuing on the way and arriving at the citadel of Talamiskal at noon. Built on the left bank of the river, which in this area is about 6 meters wide, with numerous bridges that unite one shore with the other, the citadel being about 2 kilometers in diameter, with more than 10,000 inhabitants inside the walls. Orc soldiers keep watch at one of the entrance gates, and the Mediles approach them, greeting them. Strangers, what are you looking for here? Zevio, we are emissaries, we come from far away, and we request an audience with your king. Orc, our king Zorlok is in the royal palace, come with me. Some Pantide slaves, Vampirgs, Fokiers and Jagarts are working on the construction. Norda Master Zevio, have you seen the large number of slaves in this kingdom? These are Orc laws. The soldier replies. Entering the palace, are led through a spacious hall to the end, to the throne room, where King Zorlok and his court are assembled, made up of Gorluk, Raskelin, and a dozen other advisors. A royal guard announces the arrival of emissaries from distant lands. The Orc king takes the opportunity to sit on his throne to receive them in audience. Zevio, greetings King Zorlok, we request an audience with you. Gorluk, a gargoyle and representative of his race to the Council of the Realm. What do these foreigners want in our kingdom? Norda, we are Medile knights fulfilling a mission. Zorlok, and what is a Medile? Zevio, we are warrior monks and we offer our services for the path of good. We travel anywhere in the entire Solarium system where we are most needed, so that good, truth and justice may triumph. Zorlok, and what are your intentions? Zevio, our great supreme master, leader of the Medile order. He had visions during his meditations, and he contemplated that your kingdom is in trouble. That's why he sent the three of us to investigate and solve whatever was wrong. Gorluk, visions of a sorcerer? Norda, we are not sorcerers, we are Medile knights. We use the mastery of energy through the mind. So, using her telekinetic powers, the gargoyle shakes some glasses placed on the turntable. Gorluk just exclaims. Incredible! Zorlok, and those visions of the Supreme Master of yours, what do they mean? Zevio, that's why we traveled so far, to get here. And find out what the problem is, helping you in everything you need. The king murmuring to his advisors. Zorlok, can we trust them? Making gestures to each other. The king rises from his royal seat. Accompany me, Mediles. In the next room, there is a turntable with a huge map of the region, sewn on fabric, although with some traces of paint here and there. We are here. Nearby is the viceroyalty of Bankal clan, with its capital in the citadel of Rilder. Zevio, yes, on the way here, we passed by, and we saw their droid troops getting ready. Zorlok, my spies informed me that they are preparing, one day, to invade my northern neighbors. What we don't know is if we will follow them afterwards. Zevio, whatever, your majesty, the balance of power is going to change, and you'll have to be prepared. The Orc Raskelin, advisor to the court of the Zorlok king, is attentive to all what is said and done, mainly by the new foreigners. The Orc Kalzum is the Menstad of the realm, the mind statesman of the Zorlok king. That he is here to do the calculations and memorize things. He is his personal assistant, and the closest associate of him. It is almost a living computer. Other advisors in the royal court are the aforementioned Gorluk, representative of the gargoyle races that inhabit the kingdom. A Wolfer, representative of their own, Fokier, Jagart, a quartet of Orc generals who manage the royal army. Plus another dozen assistants, such as language interpreters, financial advisors, and masters, ministers. King Zorlok is a widower, and has a 15-year-old daughter, Princess Daedlia. Under royal order, that the Mediles receive accommodation in the city inn. The flag banner of the Orc Kingdom of Talamaska consists of 2 crossed swords, red on a blue background. The banner of the Zorlok King, representing his reign and form of government, consists of 2 interlocking letters Z. Letters Z in Dualic alphabet, the kingdom's official language, and the symbol resembles a C with a slash. 2 intertwined in a mirror, represents the emblem of King Zorlok and the governance of him. The city taberna is a drinks bar and food restaurant on the ground floor, with a staircase that leads to the 3 upper floors, where there are small rooms for rent to spend the nights. The bartender lives with his family on the 3rd floor. The last of all, where he has his house. The Mediles will have to share the same room, which is still something austere for those who are used to living like monks. The next day, the 3 knights tour the Talamiskal Citadel. Going through the main square, with its solar lunar clock, the attached market, the craftsmen who work the material, street vendors, and those who own shops in the fairgrounds, wagons with provisions that arrive. Houses built with stone on the ground floor, and with wood on the upper floors. At least half of the inhabitants are orcs, followed by other races. The new buildings are erected with whips and sweat. Norda, have you noticed, teacher? Zevio, yes. I've never seen a kingdom as slave-owning as this before. Liest, and what about the visions of the Supreme Master? Zevio, I haven't figured it out yet, but if you see something weird, just say so. We will remain in this realm until we have resolved what the Master said. An orc soldier goes to meet them. You. Pointing to the Pantida. The Medile leader must meet with our King Zorlok. The royal palace, like every palace worth its salt in the entire solarium system, is divided into 9 sections, as if it were a tic-tac-toe. The central part is a large hall that gives access to all the other areas. There is a main entrance or esplanade. And on the sides, the stables for the guards, the courtyard of consuls to receive ambassadors. They are followed by the royal offices for the administrative staff, the royal apartments, where the rooms are located. At the bottom of everything, the throne room, where the royal seat is located, and on the sides, the royal patio and the royal garden. All surrounded by high walls, up to almost 3 meters, with walkways and corridors for the guard. The entire complex will measure, at most, just over 120 meters on each side. In the royal gardens, being alone, the Orc King and the Pantida. Although with the royal guards who remain at a distance, guarding the entrances and walls. Zevio recounts. With Norda and Liest, we come from the Blue Planet, on the male continent. Among the mountains in the center, nearby, the citadel of Xkalistar is built. A few kilometers from there, up the highlands, is our Medile Temple. It was founded centuries ago, and receives disciples from all corners of the solarium system. Our religion, our philosophy of life, revolves around our laser swords. Or Xkalistar in our ancient language. The king interrupts him. I know about Arcalia, the citadel of magicians. Zevio, yes, Arcalia is almost 500 kilometers from our Medile Temple. Zorlok, I know that magicians usually go to Arcalia to learn, and then work as advisors on matters of magic, in the kingdoms of this region. Zevio, yes, I know about how the Arcalia School of Magic is run. I had never heard about Mediles. Are you the adversaries of the magicians? Nothing to do. We are 2 totally different philosophies, each with their beliefs and different methodologies. We don't compete against wizards, if that was the question. Zorlok questions, intrigued. And why are you in this region, then? Our great Supreme Master, the leader of all of us, had visions during his meditations. Something about the Orange Desert, the Talam mountain range and the kingdom of Talama. Talamaska, my kingdom is called Talamaska, it means at the foot of the mountains, in our ancient language. And your master's visions showed him that my kingdom is in danger, and by whom? Is what we don't know and seek to find out. Zorlok, and what do you have so far? Zevio, on the way here we ran into skeletons. Zorlok, yes, some wizards that rely on evil magic. One of our past mistakes, trusting a wrong necromancer. Years ago he was banished far away and we never heard from him again. But the spell of him still continues, it seems. But if there was a serious danger to me and my kingdom, he would be the one coming from another kingdom, don't you think? A solid and strong competitor, and not someone lonely and loser. Meanwhile, soaring through the skies, a small, stealthy blue-black airship approaches the kingdom of the Talamasca. And he lands among a forest, far to the south of the capital citadel. A Torquian bounty hunter is in command, along with his scholar, a young Jagarta teenage girl. Torquian Dominox, we will seek to get closer to the Talamiscal without attracting too much attention. Dominox, yes teacher. I will look for a clearing in the southern forest. The bounty hunter Torquio steps down, along with a trio of Zarin models Fedroids. Stay in the Dominox airship, you know the rules. Dominox, yes, teacher, if you don't come back in less than a week, it's because something serious happened. And I must travel to the pirate stronghold of Saphiria to stay there. Heading towards the Talamiscal, robots ahead, making holograms of peasant orcs. Floating 1 meter above the ground, Spheroids accompanish the Torquian. The Torquian and the Spheroids disguised as orcs peasants. They reach the tavern of the citadel. The same one where Zevio, Norda, and Lyast are staying. At night, in the Talamiscal tavern. On the ground floor, some are partying drinking beers. The Torquian and his machines are on the first floor, resting. And the Medials are in their room on the second floor, reflecting on the day that happened. The Pantida clarifies what happened. And the king had called me to ask about our presence. The gargoyle also clears things up. With Lyast we continue touring the citadel. We have never seen a kingdom as slave-owning as this before. Zevio, I don't think this is the kingdom we're looking for. In the Xkalistar library I sensed that it was in this area, but now I doubt it. Norda, why do you say so, teacher? Zevio, is a feeling I have. Norda, do you think we have confused the kingdom? But how? Zevio, I don't know. The great supreme teacher saw in his visions a place called Talama. And this is the kingdom of Talamasca, the name is very similar. Maybe our mission is to help these slaves. I don't know exactly. Lyast, and what the other bartender said. The one who spoke about the Bankal clan wanting to conquer the other kingdoms? Norda notes. The one from the Vampirgs of the north? Lyast, yes, the same. Norda, and the visions of the Supreme Master. Did you discover something? Zevio, I haven't figured it out yet. Did you guys see something weird? Both answer in the negative. Zevio, I don't know what exactly the great teacher saw with his visions. But the only thing we can do to alleviate the suffering of these slaves is to help them become Medile Knights. Chapter 3. The Shadow Games. An evil conspiracy from the depths of darkness. The citadel of Talamiscal, capital of the Orc Kingdom, is built in the shape of an oval. At first, decades ago, it was in the shape of a circle, with the old palace in the center. When a new palace was built, the old one being abandoned, a part of the wall was demolished to make room for the expansion, and the perimeter wall was left with that shape of 2 circled spheres with an oval outline. With about 2 kilometers in diameter, it is a normal measurement for a populous citadel of just under 15,000 inhabitants. In the royal palace, the Medile Knights explain to Zorlok the reason for him. Gargoyle Norda does a demonstration. Her making her sword levitate in the air, turning it on its axis. And this is how a laser sword works. Based on the 7 colored magic crystals. When they all come into contact with each other. The last one being the one that gives the edge its color. But this is only a technical aspect. The Pantida notes. Zevio, the laser sword, or Xkalistar in our language, is more than that. It is a philosophy of life of how a Medile Knight has to be. To be warrior monks in the path of good, truth and justice. The Orc King questions. And could you build one of your Medile temples here, in Talamiscal? They would be close by to help us with whatever your great master of Xkalion envisioned. Zevio, our philosophy prohibits slavery, or any kind of service that is not to our own destiny. Zorlok, I promise that I will free the slaves who become Medile Knights, as long as they swear their loyalty and fidelity to me. Zevio, being so, then yes. In the city tavern, the Torkian bounty hunter is on the counter-table, eating. The 3 Spheroids are next to him, standing and with the holographic costume of orcs. Telling Spheroid 1. Go sees and tours the citadel, so we'll know what it's like on the holographic map. Responding with a metallic voice. Understood. He returns to his room after lunch downstairs. The king, together with his retinue, and with the 3 Medials, go through the streets of Telamiscal. While the Spheroid 1, with the holographic orc costume, walks through it too. To radio transmit everything to his companions, in the Torquio's room. To create a holographic map of the area where the assignment will take place. The Zorlok king, along with some advisors, and the Mediles, walk towards. On the other side of the citadel, and come to a palace with a large patio. Zorlok, this was the old palace where my grandfather lived, my ancestors ordered it to be built. Although after the construction of the new one, it was converted into a museum. You can use it as a Medile temple. Norda is large and spacious, with a large patio. Zevio, yes, it will be perfect. Pointing with the palm of the hand. Liest, we will have to build wooden rooms on top. Zorlok, formerly, this was the government palace. I played here as a child, when my grandfather reigned. Then my father decided to enlarge the citadel even more. Building the palace I'm in now. Will this construction serve as a Medile temple? Zevio, yes, it will be magnificent. Meanwhile, walking the streets of Telamiscal. Number 1 Spheroid, disguised as an orc guard, runs through all the streets. Scanning the place, and radio transmitting everything to his second partner. Found in the Torquio's room in the tavern. Contemplating the holographic maps of the citadel. Spheroid 2. The low walls in this sector can be a good escape route. The Torquian reaffirms. Yes, that's what I was thinking. Spheroid 3 receives a radio communication. It's a radio hologram of the one. Reprojecting the hologram centimeters from the ground. Master, the king is not in the palace. It is an opportune moment to contact our client. The Torquian answers. Yes, go right now. In the palace offices, the Spheroid number 1, meets the orc advisor Xkalistar. The machinery, which became the hologram of one more soldier, appears before him. Xkalistar, what do you want? The Spheroid turns off his holographic disguise, showing himself as he is. A spherical robot that floats in the air, using a LiDAR. Laser radar to scan the environment. The counselor orc is surprised. What the hell? Speaking with his robotic voice. My master asked me to look for him to contact you by radio hologram. Meanwhile, inside the city inn, in the rooms of the Torquian bounty hunter. The 3rd Spheroid approaches, projecting a radio hologram of the nefarious Xkalistar advisor on the wall. Xkalistar, they have recommended your work, Hunter. I trusted that in less than 2 days you would fulfill the plot to assassinate King Zorlok. Torquian, don't worry about that. I'm in Telamiscal right now, and I'd like to receive my payment in advance. Xkalistar, let's fix a place to meet then, the alley behind the tavern maybe. Torquian, yes, come in half an hour. Meanwhile, in the former palace, now turned into a brand new Medile temple. The knights describe everything that is needed, for the scribes to make a list. Zevio, and we need the artisans to make themselves available to us. To build everything we need for the new temple. Liest, a goldsmith who builds the activation threads. Norda, and not only that, we must also get colored energy crystals. Gorluk, there is a crystal mine to the south, in the caves of Lake Raman Mountain. Zevio, we will need a guide to take us there, to those caves. The king is excited about the achievements. That all the guards of the kingdom come to the new Medile temple. They will be the first to become knights. Gorluk only answers. Your Majesty. Clarifying the Mediles. Gorluk is my advisor on gargoyle matters. Who are allowed to dwell in my kingdom, as long as they swear their allegiance to me. Liest continues to advise the scribe who prepares the list of everything necessary. We need glassmakers, also turners, carpenters, blacksmiths. Touring the facilities. Norda, we need some wooden spheres, for the candidates to test their Vita Loki powers. Zorlok, Vita Loki. What is Vita Loki? The great teacher explains. All mortal living beings have an internal energy, like an aura. There are those who can tame it and make it do their will, through the mind. Zorlok, that's magic. Zevio, no, magic is based on forces of nature, which magicians try to dominate through spells. The Vita Loki is more of oneself, before of the environment. Zorlok, I don't understand anything. Zevio, through the power of thought, of the mind. We Medile Knights rely on extending our own personal Vita Loki, and using it in this way. We call this telekinesis. Zorlok, so they are like wizards, but without magic items or magic words. Zevio, yes, something like that. In the alley, behind the city tavern. The Torkian receives a sack with gold coins, and plays around weighing it. Torkian, I slayed many kings in the past, but this is the first time that I will do it without there being any heir to the throne to succeed him. It is clear that there are no political motives in this plot. May I ask what is the real goal? Raskalin only answers evasively. I'm only interested in what the king wears. Already in his grave I can snatch it from him without problems. Torkian, I could get it for you just like that. Raskalin intervenes. This king is a hindrance to my plans. You just take care of deleting it, and I'll take care of the rest of the details. As the orc retreats. Already you has this mission and half the payment. Now do what is asked. In the new Medile Temple of Talamiskal. Being the candidates gathered, all orcs, the upright master Zevio explains things to them. This is a simple wooden sphere. I will place it on the ground, and you, with the telekinetic power of the mind, you have to move it from one side to the other. So, the Royal Guard, made up entirely of orcs, tries to pass the prospecting tests in telekinesis, and fails. The other orc soldiers also try to pass the prospecting tests, and they don't succeed either. In fact, orcs are not good at mastering magic. Except for a very few exceptions, like Zistel. King Zorlok was watching it all. Out of hundreds of my guards who tried to pass these tests, only a couple made it. Why is this? Zevio, some are naturally trained to telekinesis, Your Majesty. Zorlok, I want some orc Medile Knights, who are totally faithful to me and who protect my kingdom. Zevio, things don't work like that, Your Majesty. Our philosophy prohibits slavery, or any kind of service that is not to our own destiny. Lyast interrupts. And the other races, like the Vampirgs, the Wolfers, and the Gargoyles? Zorlok, if they want to become Medile Knights, then they will have to swear allegiance to me, and serve in the Talamiskan army. Under my mandate. The counselor for the Wolfers approaches him with papers. Zorlok, I have to resolve issues in the palace. Meanwhile, keep doing what you're doing. Some carpenters arrive together with wood, to the temple, to build the rooms in the upper part. Austere rooms, so that the monks can live moderately well. At sunset, after spending hours directing the builders to remodel the brand new Medile Temple, Zevio, Norda and Lyast, return to their room in the city tavern. On the ground floor, is the owner, and the bar restaurant room. Going up the stairs, you reach the first floor, where, through a long corridor, there are 6 motel-type rooms for rent. The bounty hunter Torkian is housed in the last room, with Svedroid 2. Becoming the hologram of a peasant orc, who acts as a lookout on the outside. Norda sees him in the distance, as the Mediles continue to their room on the 2nd floor. And she notices something strange about the orc, but she ignores it, her feeling. This would be the last time the Mediles would stay in that motel, the day after. They would already move to the temple, after the rooms were built in its upper part. The Torkian continues with his solitary walks around the citadel, avoiding much contact with the people. Just studying the streets, the heights, the entrances and exits, the guards with their schedules and the possible escape points. And he also enjoys tasting the dishes in the various restaurants in the city. At the government headquarters, a couple of guards continue their daily rounds, passing through the library sector. The Svedroid No. 1, already infiltrated in the palace, hidden under the guise of decorative armor. He receives the call and projects the radio hologram of the Torkian hunter. Yes, master. Torkian, kill King Zorlok at the slightest opportunity you get. Then runs away quietly and without them noticing your presence. Return to the airship. Yes, master. Svedroid 1, walks the vast halls of the Orc Palace, disguised as another guard. The Svedroid, posing as an orc, with the hologram surrounding it, continues to scan the entire Talamiskan Palace, and enters the royal room. Zevio, and that is why we must increase the number of volunteers who want to pass the tests to become Mediles. Norda exclaims, alerted. Zevio, did you notice? Yes, that orc that just entered the room, doesn't have any Vitaloki life power. Norda claims he is a magical imposter. Looking sideways at the spherical shadow it casts. Zevio or a hologram machine. Gorlika machine. Zorlok yells. Stop it. The Spheroid shows himself as it is, and with his darter he begins to attack at full range. The Mediles draw their laser swords, and strike down the poisoned darts in midair. The Pantida, using agile and fast movements, kills the robot, using its electric lightning power. The Orc King, drawing closer. Zorlok, what is that? Zevio, it was a Spheroid. A spherical robot capable of floating in the air and generating holograms to confuse. Gorluk, this machine from the Bankal Viceroyalty, went very far this time. Norda, I don't think it was the Bankal Viceroyalty. Zevio, yes, it is true that they use robots, but this one does not have any brand. It also has this homemade adaptation of a darter, as a poison dart launcher. The advisory Wolfer, having a well-developed sense of smell, picks up one of the darts dropped from the launcher, and smells it. Is grey spike poison? It's a deadly plant that grows on the other side of the world. Rascalin questions. And how does you know so much about this? Counselor? Wolfer, in small doses and mixed with tea, they induce sleep. But in large doses like this dart, it is lethal and causes death. Gargoyle Norda clarifies. This machine came to kill or be killed. The king is dismayed and stupefied. What is happening? Zevio, I'm afraid it's a conspiracy, King Zorlok. And we should prepare for what is to come. Zorlok, the Grand Master's visions of yours were true, and he sent them. You guys to protect me from this killing machine. I am indebted to you and to all the Mediles. The Rascalin advisor intervenes. The Bankal clan crossed the line this time. Zevio, I don't think it was them. This homemade adaptation of a darter. I've never seen anything like this before. It is something handmade, and not mass-produced as they are used to. Rascalin, fortunately this is over. Zevio, I don't think this is over yet. Among the king's court, there is Sanger, the master of whispers, his spy master. That he is aware of everything that happens in the capital and throughout the kingdom in general. Getting rumors from everyone and everything, now, with this conspiracy brewing. He intensified his efforts to find those responsible and heads to roll. Now the rumor reached him about a Torquian tourist, who spends his time in and around the tavern, nothing suspicious yet. So he must continue investigating others, both residents and casual travelers. The Grey Tang deadly plant grows on the other side of the world, near the Sodazur Desert. Now the objective of the Legion of Spies and Agents under the command of Sanger will be to find who could have been in those distant parts. In the alley behind the tavern. In a second meeting between Rascalin and the hunter. Torquian, one of my Spheroids was destroyed upon discovery. Rascalin, yes. They are the new strangers in the kingdom, a kind of magicians who arrived a few days ago. But once King Zorlok is eliminated, they will leave, they have no reason to continue staying. And I won't give them to do. I'll do everything possible to keep them going. Torquian, destroying my Spheroid increases the cost. Throwing him another sack of gold coins. Rascalin, even so, our agreement continues. Finished with King Zorlok, and the sooner the better. At sunset, sitting in the outdoor tavern that overlooks the square, the Torquian contemplates. Like most palace guards, they leave the government headquarters, leaving it almost unprotected. To go to the brand new Medile temple, to practice, accompanied by the Medile Lyast Kurlog. Watching from a distance, the hunter feels comfortable. And sure of fulfilling his mission, seeing that the path will be clear. At dusk, the Torquio takes advantage of the darkness to jump over the lower part of the palace wall, entering through the garden area. Infiltrating and eliminating every guard that gets in his way to the royal room. In the company of the pair of Spheroids that he still has left. Which they act as camouflage and bodyguards for his master. The trio manages to reach the king's room, and the machines illuminate the environment. Meeting the two Medile knights and half a dozen guards protecting the king and his daughter. One of the soldiers blows a whistle, sounding the alarm. Others, in other parts of the castle, replicate the alarm, also blowing whistles. The sound is heard outside the palace, which gives the signal for those who have left at sunset, return to surround and catch the hitman killer. The Spheroids begin to attack at large, shooting everything and everyone. Giving his master Torquian time to flee the place. The pair of Medile knights activate their laser swords, striking down the poisoned darts in midair. And then kill the machines that are not a problem. The Torquian assassin already has the upper hand, thrusting into any passerby. Soldier who intrudes on his way to jump over the palace walls. The alarm sounds throughout the citadel, and the Torquian hunter being the biggest, strongest, and heaviest. Almost nothing and nobody can stand up to him, on his way to the exit. Zevio and Norda chase the Torquian, who flees leaving Talamiscal citadel. And running towards the forest, towards his airship. The alert is above the entire citadel, however, the action takes place in the surrounding forests. With the Torquian facing Zevio and Norda Mediles, fleeing from an ever closer distance. Running away is exhausting, so the Torquian turns around to face the pair of pursuers. And with about 30 more royal guards approaching 100 meters behind. First time the hunter-killer faces the Medile and their laser swords. Which are not an adversary for the normal bronze swords of the hitman. Some skeletons suddenly appear and finish off the Torquian. Throwing a couple of arrows in felony, without being expected. Who only manages to sigh a few words. Traitor. The pair of Mediles have no problems in facing the dozen skeletons. Nor do the skeletons again. Zevio, I'm beginning to believe that you were right about the fact that the Bankal clan is not behind all this. Norda, but then who? At the dawn of the early morning sun, while the scare of the hitman assassin has already passed. Although with the reinforced guard, and the majority of the inhabitants delivered to the deep sleep. The Rascalan advisor, taking a secret passage located in his chamber. Walk hundreds of meters, until outside the palace of Talamiscal. In the catacombs of what was the old citadel. To meet his mentor, Rikilye. A reptile that is like sad repentant, and his left eye was replaced, emerging a dark humanoid face. Which is the one who speaks and who holds the reins of control. Rascalan, master. I'm afraid the outsiders meddled and ruined the plan. The face that emerges from the eye of the reptile is the one who speaks. How evil spirit that came out of the entrails of the other. We will continue again and again. Until we have achieved the goal. To open our portal and conquer this whole world. Chapter 4. The Viceroyalty of the Bankal clan. The third in discord, a corporation without scruples or loyalties that plans to conquer the entire region. 3 months after the visions of the Grand Master of the Xkalian Medile Order, in which he sent 3 knights to investigate in the distance. 2 months after their arrival in the Orc Kingdom, and 1 month after the official inauguration of the brand new Medile Temple of Talamiscal. On lands belonging to the Bankal clan. A whole series of aircraft, from air corvettes, to air frigates. They travel until they converge in the skies over the citadel built on an island in the middle of the Talsar River. In the citadel of Rilder, capital of the Bankal Viceroyalty in this southeastern region of the Orange Planet. Banners of them hang everywhere, blanketing the town with their flags. The symbol of magic, the triangle with medium points surrounded by an internal circle all in yellow on a red background. Inside the administrative palace, the scenery is similar. Walking through the wide corridors. A high official, who holds the rank of ruling over several duchies, goes to meet the Zargon. Archduke, I congratulate you on this nomination in the election, Viceroy Zerdak. The Zargon only answers. Thank you, Archduke. I want there to be profound changes, like conquering more territories in the region. So it will be, Viceroy Zerdak. It is the Archduke's reply. In one of the rooms, having a large detailed map on the convertible, the officials of the Bankal clan review everything. The Yakarde, chief of the armies of the region, makes a comment. Andralix, apparently, the southern area will be easy to conquer, and then we'll see how to continue. Archduke, the Marshal Andralix. Our advisor on military issues has developed the strategy according to your orders, Viceroy. Andralix, to obtain a territory in concession, to carry out the landing of our droid troops. And conquer the surrounding areas, to later unify them under our rule. It is what is customary to do in these cases, Viceroy Zerdak. Archduke Andralix hails from the northern region of the Lilac Planet. He have recently been promoted and assigned to our Orange District. He is qualified to command the oncoming war, Viceroy Zerdak. Andralix. I trust that you will be able to expand our domains as much as possible. The entire region as desirable. The Marshal only answers. So shall it be done, Viceroy Zerdak. Contemplating the huge map of the southeastern region of the orange planet, which hangs vertically. Some bugs point to the entire area to be dominated, practically the entire hemisphere. Behind the palace, is the market of the citadel of Rilder, which is a nest of spies. Coming from everywhere, seeing how the local situation is, among them, an orc. Who manages to see how they place a giant portrait of the new Viceroy Zerdak on the esplanade at the entrance to the palace. The image of the Zargon and his name is a reminder of who is the new boss in the region. With the passing of the days, furrowing the skies, waves of airships, transporting hundreds upon hundreds of battle droid robots. They reach the outskirts of the citadel, to settle in the new forts that surround it. The Council of the Temple Medile is an assembly of the most outstanding members. In Xkalistar, the Mother Temple is formed by the 19 prominent members. Being the Grand Teacher Leader, as a moderator in the discussions. The decisions to be made quickly go through him. Otherwise, the Council decides them. Now, in Talamiskal, as a brand new Medile Temple that is just beginning, the Council would be 5 members. With Zevio as leading Grand Master, Norda and Lyast Kurlog, along with 2 other members, the disciples. Most advanced that there is at the moment, being the Vamp Ergo Tordic, and the Jagard Ergolion. On the upper floor, the open circular room is the place to hold council meetings. With a bell placed on the balcony that overlooks the patio, whose tinkling is characteristic. That the members of the council are called to meet immediately. Dealing with issues related to the temple and its operation, new promotions, and other characteristic issues. In the brand new Medile Temple of Talamiskal, the upright Master Zevio instructs the new disciples, who practice with wooden swords. Zevio, that's right students, you must let the Vita Loki flow. Sit with each other for the vital energy. So they can manipulate matter through the mind. Based on soft relaxation movements. Following the coordinated rhythm, they will achieve what they propose. An orc soldier is introduced. Excuse me, Pantida Zevio, but King Zorlok wishes to speak with you. In another sector of the huge temple, Norda also has his disciples. Keep practicing, I'll be right back. The gargoyle walks alongside the Pantida, at least for a while. Zevio, the vast majority of the new disciples are training. But the orc named Zistel is not found. Since he was called yesterday. That I did not know more about him. Zevio, I will discuss it with the king. Already in the royal palace. In the throne room, stands the King Zorlok. Accompanied by his advisors, and with Zistel as another of the guards. Zevio, Majesty, did you want to see me? Zorlok, yes. My spies inform me that the viceroyalty of the Bankal clan is willing to expand throughout the region. Waves of cargo airships have arrived in its central administrative region, transporting hundreds of battle droid robots. Wolfer Counselor adds. And we've just received reports that an official named Zerdak has recently been promoted. And he became the supreme leader of the Bankal clan in this region of the Orange Planet. Gorlok, our relationship with Bankal clan is cold, not to say frozen. The king clarifies. If before the Bankal viceroyalty was a simple spark in the area, now it wants to spread like wildfire. And several territories have already been annexed. The Pantida only asks. Do you think they are part of the conspiracy to start a war? Orc Sanger, Master of Whispers, Chief of the Spies of the Kingdom, clarifies the panorama. My guards inspected the room of the tavern where stayed the Torkian who was hired to eliminate His Excellence. They did not find anything incriminating that linked him to the Bankal clan, however, they did not cease to be under suspicion. Zorlok, let's go to the map room. As they walk down the White Hall. Zevio. Your Majesty, changing the subject. I would like to know why Zistel is not training together with the rest of his classmates. Zorlok, I like to have an Orc Medile Knight as my personal guard, it's just for my precaution. Zevio, but anyone can fulfill that mission, Your Majesty. Zorlok, even so, I prefer that he be an Orc, and at best, if he belongs to the lineage of my relatives. In the map room, on a countable, showing them. Zorlok explains. Zerdak considers himself the viceroy of this entire region, although without any political power, and only possessing under his domain a few regions. The power of him is like having many islands, and he tries unite them all, forming a continent under his total control. Gorlek, and not only that, he also possesses a large army of battle droid robots. The spies have calculated their number at just over 5,000 troops, and they get bigger and bigger every week. Wolfer, his final intentions are to conquer everything. Zvo, I understand, the Bankal clan will cause them big problems. Zorlok, this is a map of the region. As you can see, the Talsar and Onal rivers are the main ones in the area, and all the kingdoms are concentrated around them. Then to the sides, the barren-colored desert begins. Orange, which is what gives the planet its tone. Watching as the Pantida focuses its eyes on the strange black lines that separate the yellowish-green color from the orange color. The king clarifies the reason for everything to the Medile Master. What you see here are the cliffs, where the fertile lands end and the barren desert begins. Zvo, the cliffs? Zorlok, yes, they are hills about 5 meters high. They separate the living from the inert desert. Wolfer intervenes by delimiting. Is so arid that nothing grows there. And they are barbarian tribes, the Zavirex, who inhabit it. Gorlek, along with giant sandworms. Zorlok, although we made a non-aggression pact with some Zavirex in this area. Zvo, the valley of Arsnako. It is too far away to be of any use to them or cause them any trouble. Zorlok, even so, it is preferable to have the Zavirex as allies, and hire the services of his mercenary hunters from time to time. Wolfer, the race of Zavirex are formidable warriors, and it is preferable to have them allies, although between them they carry ancestral disputes. Gorlek, our main concern is the possible invasion of Bankal clan, our neighbors to the north, and then we follow they. Wolfer, possibly everything will be in years, or months. What is certain is that sooner or later it will happen. Zvo, and how do you know about all this? Sanger, the master of whispers, notes. In the citadel of Rilder, they do not hide their intentions and they are loud rumors through the streets. We just need our spies to go through it to find out what happens inside their palace. Zorlok, as you know, to travel from world to world you need to use the dimensional portals. And there is one near our borders, in the Pumal kingdom of Darsum, and leading to the Brown Planet. It is known that the Bankal clan hires the services of mercenaries barbarians, who inhabit Brown World. The barbarian assassins, grey-skinned humanoids, grouped into diverse clans, trained in the deadly arts of hunting. They offer themselves as mercenaries to fight in the wars of others, in exchange for a succulent pay, brutal by nature. Their presence on the battlefield is synonymous with victory through merciless carnage and slaughter. The Orc Analyst, authentic living computer, who was hired as Menstad at the service of His Majesty. He notes. Kalzum, if they want to dominate the entire Darsum, they would need to expand into the surrounding kingdoms. Wolfagia is in their sights. From Wolfagia they would go to Versila, then to Corliss. To have them at our doors sooner or later. Zorlok, they would hire those mercenary barbarians to fight alongside their battle droids. In that case, we are lost if they do. Zvo, I'll discuss it with the council. We will see how to act in case things turn sour. Before the Pantida withdraws, the king intercedes. One more thing, Zvo. I want Zistel to be part of the Medile Council of the Talamiskal Temple. Zvo, but he is just an apprentice. In addition, only with the years and experience can climb positions and become part of the council, like a great teacher. Zorlok, even so, Zistel will be part of the Medile Council. He will be my voice and vote in the decisions of the committee. Back to the Medile Temple. Norda, Master Zvo, 5 more disciples have joined us this noon. They are descendants of slaves, and when doing the prospecting tests, they passed them, that's why they were authorized to incorporate them into the temple. Zevio: yes, it's okay, little by little we are growing. The gargoyle notes the dismay of his master. What happened? Zevio: Zorlok called me to consult me about the possible expansion of the Bankal clan towards the northern kingdoms, the ones we passed through on our way here. And what did you say? That we will analyze it in council, and we will elaborate a strategy in case of war. Yes, I'll put it together right away. One more thing, Xystal will be part of the Medile Council. But he's not a great teacher, he didn't even pass the tests for Advanced Apprentice. King Zorlok wants it that way. He wants Xystal as his voice and his vote in council decisions. Is unheard of, in Xkalion nothing like this ever happened. Unfortunately, we are no longer in Xkalion. In the entire region, there are only 3 laser swords, those of Zevio, Norda and Lyast Kurlog. They, having the knowledge of its operation and how to build them. They have to pass that wisdom on to their disciples, who for the moment, they just have to be content with practicing with staves and wooden swords. Before the council, with the new addition of the Orko Xystal, now with 8 members. Ergalion, the Jagart, Advanced Apprentice, sits on the council as an assistant. Approaching a list to the leading teacher. Zevio: we have 50 apprentices in total, and 20 are already advanced disciples. It's about time they built their own laser swords. Norda: we need crystals to build the laser swords. Lyast: according to the villagers there is a cave of crystals near the mountain of Lake Raman, to the south. Zevio: Norda, take charge. The gargoyle replies. Yes, Master Zevio. Zevio: Lyast, you will take care of the blacksmiths, so they can build the handles. The orc Lyast Kurlog answers in the affirmative. Zevio: these first 20 advanced disciples, will go on a pilgrimage to that mountain, to look for the crystals. If all goes well, possibly we will build a new temple in that place. The orc Xystal, a simple student who only passed the prospecting tests. And he was promoted in rank by royal orders, integrating the council. Intervenes asking. A new temple? It will have to continue to depend on King Zorlok, won't you? Zevio and Norda look at each other, and at the little monster created. Building laser swords is a true craftsmanship, so in various corners of the temple, niches for artisans are established, who must make all the pieces that make it up by hand. The gargoyle, being led by an orc, and with about 20 of advanced disciples, they go on a pilgrimage to the south. The Talim mountain range, there are hundreds and hundreds of mountains that make it up. But to the first of these, those that give their face to the fertile plains, they had to name them to better identify them on the maps. Lake Raman is the first mountain that is on the banks of the Talsar River. There, it was excavated in it to build a citadel. Half buried, the other half in sight. It is called Lake Rat. Nearby, hundreds of meters from the esplanade, passes the waterfall that feeds the Talsar River. An orc guide leads the advanced disciples, along with the leading gargoyle, to the mountain of Lake Raman, to the caves that overlook the waterfall. Norda: from this cave will be able to extract the crystals yours need, they must let the crystal call you. Commune with this crystal, and it will be yours to assemble your own laser sword. A surprised Vampirg asks. Teacher, the call of the crystal? Norda: stretch out your hands, and feel how the crystals call you, then walk in that direction. It will be a mystical feeling, deep within yourselves. Just let yourself be carried away by your third eye, the mental one. Having already obtained all the crystals they could collect, Norda and his disciples returns to Talamiskal. Another 50 kilometers back to the north, on a pilgrimage that took them a day and a half. Meanwhile, on the other side of the citadel, the blacksmith is used to forging all kinds of weapons, including specialized swords, in which spies and professional assassins, known as ninjas, they use it more as a tool than as a weapon itself, due to their strict training in avoiding conflict and unnecessary combat. Flee furtively, without being discovered, and with the mission fulfilled, is the main commandment of a ninja. Having all kinds of swords placed on the walls, waiting for their owners to come looking for them. Young Orc Alcert is the head smith of the Tlalomiskal, in the company of his father, his instructor. They had never heard of laser swords before, and now he is curious. Alcert, and you say that we should only make the bronze handles for these laser swords? Liest, in fact we want you to teach the temple monks about how to forge the metal, bronze in the main. Alcert, I still don't know how they will do it to fit the edge to the handle. Liest is that the edge is a very short-range laser beam. Alcert, I don't understand anything you're talking about, but I'd like to see how they do everything. Liest, yes, come to the temple to teach the monks and there you will see everything. For now, we are looking for something like this. And drawing his laser sword, he turns it on by turning the activation screw, like a rotor flashlight. Alcert and his father are really surprised. Liest, no, they must not touch the edge. Turning it off. Liest, as you can see, by the handle of my laser sword. We want you to help the monks build something similar. The young blacksmith answers in the affirmative. In a corner of the temple, the forge was built, with all the necessary material and tools. Courtesy of King Zorlok's orders, with some slaves bringing to the place everything requested. The next day, Orc Alcert is teaching 15 disciples the techniques of forging bronze metal. As he prepares it hot and shapes it with a chisel and hammer, quickly cooling it in water. And then continue with the cycle, until the desired product is achieved. Zevio goes on an inspection of the temple. The glazier builds the circular mirrors for reflection and refraction, to make the laser work. The reflection mirror is located on the pommel of the sword, and is in charge of reflecting the light, making it bounce in the opposite direction, amplifying it. The refraction mirror is located in the activation thread, and it is almost a semi-mirror glass, in charge of bouncing the weak light, but letting the strong one pass, the one that ends up conforming to the beam of laser light. Liest takes care of direct the blacksmiths, who working inside the temple itself. They teach the disciples to manipulate hot bronze, and other metal casting techniques. Already with the raw metal, it becomes laminated, and then the goldsmiths take over, modeling the handles. Of the shape, size, and internal structure that it must have, how helical, to allow the embedding of the activation thread, and that it is turning, make the crystals. Put everyone in contact with each other, activating the laser beam. There are 7 crystals that make up a laser sword. Black, mustard, yellow, orange, red, black, these are the 6 main ones that activate the effect. Plus the final coherence crystal, which can be of any color, and which acts to amplify the effect and gives the final color to the edge. In the Tlalomiskal temple they gradually gather all the crystals they need, with emphasis on the 6 primary ones. They get them through the southern mines, excavated in the mountains of the range. Although a second method is through trade. The important thing is to get all the necessary crystals, taking them to the temple, where in a corner, there is a jewelry store, dedicated to polishing and preparing them. Certain monks learn jewelry techniques for polishing and treating whatever glass comes into their hands. The Norda teacher, making an inspection, lets the great master Zevio know. We got 100 crystals in total, a couple of which are viridian. The Pantida answers. Well, keep it up, the viridians will be useful for the library. The white crystals act like a diskette pen drive, they are like data cubes capable of storing information, with which they interact with the gray crystals which make up serial computers. So they can be recorded, deleted, read, written, listened to, seen. All that remains is to put a cubic white crystal in contact on a gray glass, and you already have the interaction. Viridian crystals gray-green in color are also data crystals. Only that they are not computers in themselves, as if the gray crystals are. But they are more related to magic. A magician, or someone with Vita Loki powers, can activate these crystals, record them, erase them, read them, write them. It is like a sonic mental vibration, and a user of the Vita Loki, through the power of the mind, interacts with this crystal. They are dodecahedrons minus 10 faces in a dipyramid, 5 faces up, another 5 down. It is made to spin like a top in the air, so that it intensifies its vibrations and thus establishes a correct link. They are carved in the shape of a 10-sided dice, only much larger, around 6 centimeters in diameter. The viridian crystals gray-green in color in which the users of the Vita Loki read it mediles synchronize through their mental powers, and thus they interact with them, through mental sonic vibrations. They can read, write, listen, see, record, erase and whatever they want to do with the crystal. A machine could not interact with these special crystals, because they really are magical. And only someone with advanced mental powers could interact with them. Someone magician yes, but the machines don't. Carved and polished in the form of a dipyramid with 10 faces, 5 on each side. The user of the Vita Loki only has to use his powers to lift it into the air, making it rotate about its axis, so that it begins to vibrate, and so the link between both crystal and Vita Loki user be perfect and without interruptions. Only a Medile master can interact with a viridian crystal. In fact, among the numerous tests to become a teacher, there is the test of interacting with a viridian crystal. Building laser swords is quite a craft, and in certain corners of the temple, these artisan niches are created, with the blacksmith area, to forge the handles and the protective foil. The jewelry area, for polishing and working the crystals, the glass area, to manufacture the mirrors. The winding sector, to manufacture the toroidal spirals, the tannery sector, to work the grip leather of the handle, the goldsmith sector, to build the activation threads, the magnetic sector, which carved the magnets, the turner sector, which forged the joint compression springs, the electricity sector, which manufactures the emission matrices. This craft work, despite being laborious and tiring, the invested own effort makes the Medile monk ascend spiritually. Having to build by hand, and one by one, each of the elements that make up a laser sword, instead of having to do everything in series like in a factory. This own effort has no measurable value. In the robots of the entire solarium system, logic boxes give it Intel machines, and these are filled with blue logic crystals. That they are totally faithful to their masters, what a lapdog. Or they are of indigo color, in which they are faithful to the gigantic indigo crystal, of a cubic meter, and a ton of weight. In this case indigo logic crystals they act as a hive, with the giant as queen bee. If the giant is at the service of some Bankal viceroyalty, the rest of the robots, with indigo logic boxes they are faithful to him, like ants soldiers. This giant crystal is placed in a transmitter, and governs those who are within a radius about 1,000 kilometers around. In the middle of the desert, there are some very high rock columns that can reach up to 300 meters in some cases, and wide up to 3 kilometers. They are hard rocks, which endured the inclemencies of the weather over millions of years, and which civilizations now occupy to colonize them. Building airports, the only way in and out of the colony. Dedicating itself to mining as the main economic activity, in addition to the cultivation of mushrooms and spices for food. The Bankal clan, with his viceroyalty in the southeast area of the Orange Planet, knew how to take advantage of these natural columns, building a whole series of colonies, which make up an authentic archipelago, of islands in the middle of the ocean of dunes. The so-called Arkash, Kalajam, and Tonsor colonies, together with an identification number. The order in which they were discovered by cartographers and explorers. The preferred means of access is by airship, and despite the fact that land circulation on foot is almost impossible, due to giant sandworms, if there has to be, it must be done at high speed, preferably by means of a moped. High above the skies, a Bankal aircruiser heads east towards the colony of Kalajam 14. One of the first acquisitions of the Bankal clan in the region, and adapted quickly to become a modest laboratory. Among the hosts of the Bankal clan, there are the Brainers, brains placed in dwarf robots. Gobot types, intermingling machine with living being, and who are dedicated to science. Mainly building weapons to be used by the Bankal clan. There being 100 in the region, being assigned to the new viceroyalty of the southeast sector. They are named by combining numbers and letters. The Zerdak viceroy visiting the colony, passes inspection through the area dedicated to weapons research. Brainer 8I, according to your orders, Viceroy, we continue with scientific development. Zerdak, yes, excellent. Silens are beings of magical air. Some intelligent creatures that built special suits in which to survive. Since a simple breeze would disintegrate them, but not if they are inside of a special waterproof suit, which prevents them from escaping their air of life. Originating on the Grey Planet, a vast rocky world with an endless labyrinth beneath its surface. Of mysterious origin, the magical air, learned late with great difficulty, to build itself their own costumes, since then, dedicating theirself to science if they wanted to survive. Being able to float centimeters from the ground, they are so light that they can move like that. The Silens also engage in science, creating weapons to be used by the Bankal clan. In fact, they are the fathers of the Brainers. Being hired by the Bankal clan, some arrived at the viceroyalty southeast of the Orange Planet a few days ago, and already they went to work, building weapons for the clan. Silen K1 is in charge of directing the rest with the investigations. We are building new variants of robots. They will serve you in combat, Viceroy Zerdak. The Zerdak Viceroy is more than satisfied with his inspection of the colony. The Bankal clan started as a simple spark, opening commercial offices in some kingdoms. Then they spread like wildfire, gaining concessions to some kingdoms. Now, with Zerdak in power, they want to be a real hell. Conquering everything possible. For this they are arming themselves to the teeth. First receiving shipments of droids from other viceroyalties in other regions. Both the Orange Planet and the rest of the worlds that make up the Solarium system. Now, building a droid factory in the citadel of Linden, south of Rilder, a real fortress. Chapter 5. Shadow Conspiracy. How the plot continues to be woven behind the backs of the heroes, where everything turned out to be vaster than they thought. Pantida Zevio meets with the Orc King in the palace of the Talamiskal. Sitting at the banquet table, eating lunch just the two of them. Zevio, but I would also like to know more about the kingdom. Where do they all come from? While Zorlok pours himself a drink. We have myths and legends, about our ancestors from thousands of years ago. It is said that they were servants of superior beings who lived in the middle of the mountain range. Once, one occasion they faced each other for power, and the slaves took the opportunity to flee. Collapsing the mountain passes, and walking northwards, guiding by the midday Sunday. They reached the foot of the mountains. And here they settled. The Talamiskal citadel began as a simple village of a dozen houses. And a palisade to protect it. This was the case 1,000 years ago. The one that is now a Medile temple, used to be the old palace, and it was built 400 years ago, and this new palace began to be built 30 years ago. And the mountains, can we go visit? Yes. I'll organize it for you next week. 16 years ago, the Bankal clan set foot in the region, opening offices everywhere. Getting concessions, winning claims, bringing their battle droids and winning wars. From a tiny redoubt, he went on to rule entire kingdoms, in which he put puppets in charge. With satellite kingdoms, following the blind wishes of the administrative centers. Since Zerdak's arrival as Viceroy-elect for this southeastern region of the Orange Planet, his aspirations have increased, and a lot, wanting to conquer everything, combining his scattered islands of power, on a single continent under his command. Hundreds of kilometers from the Talamiskal, in the citadel of Rilder. The Viceroy and his officials are planning their next steps. Walking through the large palace, seat of the government. Zargon, we have Bankal clan delegations in almost all the kingdoms of the region. And we gave our proposals of forced alliance to the regents. It's only a matter of time to see who joins us. And thus the map of our domains will be outlined. Marshal Andralix adds. The rest would only be gains at the expense of invasions. Zerdak is excellent, but we also need more ways of communication. Androlix, the kingdom of Darsum. It has a dimensional portal that leads to the brown planet. Zerdak, yes, get Darsum at any cost. Even if we have to offer them more benefits than the other kingdoms. I want that dimensional portal in our favor. Zargon, maybe lease it on lease. Zerdak, do it as you want, but get they as an ally. And the sooner the better. Androlix, so shall it be done, Viceroy Zerdak. Zargon, one more thing, from the headquarters of the Bankal clan, they will send 20 legions of droids. Second line, already combat veterans. They will arrive at Rilder in a few weeks. Ayakarde naively asks. 20 legions? Androlix, about 20,000 troops. Zerdak, are these the aid remittances when a viceroyalty is about to be born, isn't it? Zargon, yet, the request was raised before your excellence designation, the shipment will be late, that's all. Androlix, but a droid factory is already being built on the outskirts of Linden Citadel. Viceroy Zerdak used them to occupy positions in important places. Like the citadels of Rilder and the most vital to us. Androlix, maybe use these battle-hardened veteran troops to spearhead our next conquests in the region. Zerdak, yes, do it. I want to go see the new territories once they are conquered. In the brand new Medile Temple of Talamiskal, new aspirants are arriving. Of being slaves, and if they were to pass the prospecting tests, they will be released and admitted to the temple as Medile monks. A prospector is the initiated disciple, seeing if he has mental powers of Vita Loki. The simple fact of being able to telekinetically move a wooden sphere already makes it advance it. Student, where he is assigned to a group class, where he is instructed on the basic management of how the temple is. If the generalized teacher considers that there are many very advanced students in his class, these few progress and become apprentice, being assigned to a master or specific. From here is the hotbed to take those who face the fists and rods. In combat against those who want to take the tests to become Medile masters. Being evaluated altogether, the aspiring teacher and his numerous rivals, among whom, if they have aptitudes, they pass to disciple, further exercising his telekinetic abilities, and if he continues to progress, he becomes a advanced disciple, already at the optimum level to begin his career as a Medile monk. If an aspiring monk fails the prospecting tests, he can become a temple sentinel. A mixed monk/soldier unit, more than anything, created to meet the needs. From the Orc King, Zorlok, who wanted a Medile-style paramilitary unit. Already being a student, he passes to a class with between 20 and 30 members. Where they are taught the basics of how the temple works, from here they leave. The assistants who are in charge of cleaning and maintaining it, the artisans and others. The teacher of this class promotes the best, the most educated of the educated, and they pass under the tutelage of a specific teacher. Here, already as an apprentice, he learns about hand-to-hand combat. And in handling the rod, the simplest weapon that exists. Already from among the apprentices, the seedbed arises, from where some are taken. So that everyone faces against the one who wants to pass the teacher tests. The candidate who is considered suitable to become a Medile teacher, must pass 7 tests. 2 of which, the test of strength, where he must fight several advanced novices. And defeat them all in a fist and kick fight. And the second test, that of skill, with another batch of apprentices. Where he must defeat them all using wooden sticks and swords, simulating the real ones. Being several teachers who evaluate these fights, and the behavior within them. Not only evaluating the candidate who wants to become a teacher, but also the apprentices who face it, and thus, the latter have the possibility of ascending, becoming disciples. Already being reassigned to a special teacher, who can have up to 5 members. The advanced disciple, is the best of the best in his group. From here there is only one step to become a teacher. Agree to perform tests when deemed appropriate. A Medile monk, he leads an austere life inside the temple, basically he is a student. A Medile knight, he is already a master well versed in Templar discipline. He can be a teacher, and at the same time continue to be a monk. Since the tests of worth were not passed, to be knighted. The fame of the Mediles began to emerge little by little among the kingdoms and lands neighboring Talamaska. Norda takes charge of prospecting, of those who come to the temple to become monks. First they have to pass the prospecting tests, to see if they have telekinesis powers, then if they are accepted. Those who progress the most, already being advanced disciples, are practicing with hempwood sticks. In the middle of the main courtyard, the great master of the order gives the class. Zevio, yes, like this, you will practice in the Xe 5th position, handling a wooden stick. If you progress, you will go to the 4th Xe, with the wooden swords. And so they will advance, forging the management of the fighting positions. A Wolfer asks. Master, when will we be able to use laser swords like yours? Zevio, first you must master the positions, called Xe, they will start with the 5th, then 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and so on. When they reach 1st Xe, you will be severely tested to see if you can progress and receive your laser sword, not before. An orc soldier introduces himself. The king requests the presence of Xystal and Pantida Zevio. As they walk through the streets on their way to the palace. In the distance, the Pantida Zevio can hear some broken words between themselves. Between some orc soldiers. Will come. Gos come soon, receive it accordingly. The Pantida asks his companion. Who is Goscom? Xystal, not who, but where. It is the citadel capital of Bermagia, the neighboring kingdom to the northeast. A new ambassador will come to Telamiscal to sign mutual support agreements. Support agreements? Far from here is the Pumal kingdom of Darsum. They, on its northern border, control the dimensional portal that goes to the Brown Planet. Yes, King Zorlok and his advisors told me about Darsum. The Bankal Viceroyalty sent a delegation to negotiate in Dartsant, the capital of Darsum. If the Pumal king accepts them, from Bermagia they will be worried. That is why they come to us to ask for help, in case this happens. And why did King Zorlok have called us? Now we will know. Being the Pantida and the orc Xystal in front the king. Zorlok, the son of the ambassador of Bermagia in Telamiscal, wants to be Medile. Having Goscom as allies is essential for us. If the son of one of the Bermagian nobles. He wants to be a Medile knight. I won't accept it immediately. Xystal, so it will be, your majesty. The Pantida does not answer, since he doubts the proposal. In the throne room, the king seated in his royal seat, with his advisors and counselors. Together with the two Medials, they are waiting for the arrival of the new ambassador. Jagart, greetings, King Zorlok, king of the Talamasca. The spokesman announces the king's greetings of welcome to his hosts. Jagart, he is my son Clyan, he is the eldest, he is 16 years old. And he heard about the Medile Knights, and he wants to be one. Zorlok, right here is the Pantida Zevio, the master leader of the Medile Order. Along with Xystal, the best student ever born in Talamasca. Jagart, let's get to the point. Rask Ellen, principal orc advisor, as always, is attentive to every word that is said in the meeting. Jagart, if from Darsum they ally with the Bankal clan. If from the portal in his citadel of Kurdan. They allow the barbarians to arrive, hired like the mercenaries they are. What tells us that tomorrow Bermagia will not be the victim of an invasion? Zorlok, yes, you're right, ambassador, and Telamiscal could be next, if Bermagia falls. Jagart, our king wants a pact of mutual support. The orc king replies. Yes, a mutual treaty between both kingdoms. Jagart, Goscom has reached us rumors about the Bankal clan annexing the kingdoms of Dardia and Nilkasha. Granting them a bank loan that was impossible to pay, for which they had to hand over control of the entire kingdom in compensation. Zorlok, yes, we also know that story. Jagart, the spies of our king, calculated that on the outskirts of Rildar, they have arrived. More than 5,000 droid troops, and many more are on the way. Why would they want so much arsenal, if not to conquer the region? The young Jagart, bored with so much talk, intervenes to change the conversation. Father, I would like to know more about the Medile Knights. Zorlok proposes. Let's go to the royal patio to continue our talks. Let the Mediles get to know each other. The court goes to the patio, while in the royal room only the pair of Mediles and the young Jagart remains. Clyan asks. Are you the leader of the Mediles? Yes, that's right, call me Great Master Zevio. Clyan, my friends told me about some wizards that don't use magic. And that they have a way of life of warrior monks. The orc replies. We are those warrior monks, but we prefer to be called Mediles. Zevio just says. Xystal, you can retire to the temple, leave me alone with Clyan. The son of one of those nobles, Clyan, also volunteered to become a Medile knight. Continuing in the palace, being received by the leading Pantida in person. Who will instruct him to carry out the prospecting tests. See if he has skills in handling the Vita Loki. Or personal energy mind-drived. Seeing that area of the palace is very busy. as to have an intimate and frank dialogue. That is why the Pantida proposes. I'll see you in the Hall of the Lost Steps, in a few moments. Client, the Lost Steps. Why do they call it that? Inside the royal offices. Oh, yeah, now I see. The steps reach this room that only has a single entrance. Xivio ready for practice. After laying him on the ground with a wooden stick. Client does not wait. Not yet. I wasn't ready. Xivio, if you were focused, you wouldn't have fallen. Client was a bit treacherous. Xivio, the life of a Medile monk is hard and sacrificed. But that internal peace is unmatched by other means. We accept everyone who wants to become a Medile Knight. And they continue with us as long as they can pass prospecting tests, discovering them. Do you have telekinetic powers? As he helps him up, holding out the stick for him to hold on to. Client gladly accept the sacrifice. Xivio, I know about the Bermagia agreements with Talamasca. Being noble and integrating with us will not guarantee you a well-to of privilege in the Medile Temple. That is something that is only earned with experience, and years of constant labor. Client, yes, Master Xivio. Xivio, we finished with our presentation here. I will see you in the Medile Temple, which was formerly the government palace. Client, yes, Master Xivio, I know where it is. Not only slaves come to the Talamiscal Medile Temple, but also nobles, belonging to neighboring kingdoms, who were forced to join the orcs, for a matter of resources and sharing water, more than anything. The Jagart Client accepts the union vow to the Medile Temple, and the Master Xivio has made him collect water in a cauldron, so that he hits it with the palms of his hands, and thus he learns to give correct blows. In the Medile Temple, the first advanced disciples are able to build their own laser swords. The first ones after those of the Masters Xivio, Norda and Lyast. Now these will be the pioneers to leave the brand new Talamiscal Temple. They already have everything they need. The blacksmith forged the handles, the goldsmith built the activation threads with the hollow screw mechanism. The glazier modeled the small circular mirrors for refraction and reflection, the electrician coiled with a strand of copper wire in the shape toroidal spiral, the turner made the compression springs and the cross screws for perpendicular fastening. The tanner made the rubber bands with lizard leather for the grip handle. The magneto turns the magnets to give them the annular toroidal shape. And they already got all the necessary crystals, sitting in the lotus position in the courtyard. And with 15 advanced disciples forming a concentric circle around, the Master Xivio gives them the master class. Xivio, use the power of your mind to telekinetically assemble the parts of the laser sword. Concentrate and visualize everything with the third eye, the eye of the mind, how everything should be done. Thus, the noble Pantida picks up the pieces of a laser sword to assemble and assembles them in the air, floating centimeters above the ground, before the astonished sight of others. When he finished, he turns it on. We'll use this mystical alignment to build yours laser swords. So you will trust it, and it will be there when you need it the most. Putting out the sword. Now you must do it. The advanced disciples, squatting around, use their Vita Loki powers to raise the pieces. Fokirum, Master Xivio. I still can't fit the activation thread. The teacher takes it easy. Must trust that the pieces that make up the laser sword, they are made to be a whole, coming together when they should. Leave your mind in calm peace, close your eyes, and at the same time glimpse what you need to do, assemble the pieces of your laser sword. A Wolfer asks. Teacher, how is it possible that there are more than 2 eyes? Xivio, the body is an ally of the soul. To the 2 eyes of the body, have to add the eye of the mind, it would be like a third eye. With this masterful explanation, the Fokira goes a long way. Yes, now, almost. I have it. After everything is assembled, she turns it on to the applause of the others. A Vamberg, one of the Medile's advanced disciples, mistakes the crystal of coherence, placing a red one at the end, which causes disturbances in the laser beam. The Pantida notices it, and clarifies it. Xivio, no. Not like this. Activating his laser sword. Xivio, the straightness in the beam of the edge of the laser sword. It shows us how the life of a Medile Knight should be, straight and honest. This is how we Medile monks live, and our laser swords show us the way forward. Students. If you place a red one as a final coherence crystal, this will cause disturbances in the laser light beam. Shows the violence that we must reject as Mediles. That is why the final coherence crystal must be of any other color. That is neither red nor purple, which is the mixture of red with blue. Vampirk: I'm sorry Master Xivio. But most of my race are color blind, we can't distinguish colors very well. Taking from glass to glass, shaking them at random. That's why we use our 6 ears. Here it is, the matte green, it makes sounds when it shakes. And they will come in handy to guide me in combat. Making this trapdoor, he concentrates on raising the pieces to assemble his laser sword well. This time with the edge, the beam of light, color matte green. When finished, he turns it on, and it emits a bigger buzz than the other beams. Vampirk: so yes, yeah, it would be like having a second sonar sense. Perhaps the vampire humanoid cheated due to being colorblind and not being able to distinguish colors very well. However, Xystal and the trio of orcs that accompany him after having passed the basic tests. They are lousy at handling telekinesis, barely lifting a few small parts of the laser sword that they must assemble in the air, and having to cheat, they assemble them using their hands. The leading Pantida notes it. No, not like that. They must use the power of the mind to raise the pieces and assemble it in the air, without having to touch anything. Orc Xystal intervenes. They can do it by hand. The important thing is to have orc medile knights in the kingdom, it is the wishes of the king. The great teacher clarifies. If they do it with the power of the mind, seeing everything with the third eye, they will do it well. Assemble the laser sword in perfect mystical alignment, and they will feel in communion with it, as if it were a part of you. Telling those who are sitting next to the orcs who failed. You too, help them. Synchronize in the Vita Loki, to raise the pieces. Raise the ones they can't do, and try to coordinate with each other to assemble everything. This is how they do it. The orcs can barely telekinetically raise some light pieces. The toroidal winding, a pair of crystals, the containment ring, the diffuser mirror, and the pair of monks at his side, raise the rest of them, the reflecting mirror, the protective foil, the rest of the crystals, the casserole, the terminal pommel, the bolt with the activation thread, the electrical matrix, the screws. When finishing assembling the sword, with a lot of outside help by the way, the orc activates it and plays with it, as if wanting to give it a lunge to the neck to his partner next door. Xivio: no, this is not the true path. Xystal intervenes, agreeing with the Pantida, so that the other extinguishes his sword. The teacher explains. In a violent land, a guardian of peace must be pure in heart. Violence only serves to purge evil, but it is never a way of life. The Fokira says. Is that what the mystical alignment is for, teacher? Xivio just says. We're done here for today. In the following classes we will continue with the practices of mystical alignment. And so on until everyone gets it right, and without help, return to their other tasks. In another sector of the temple, the young Jaguar emptied all the water from the vessel with blows. Approaching the great master while he was passing by. Client: I practiced all day hitting the cauldron of water until it was empty, and now what's next? Xivio: you must be as innocent as a snowflake, and mobilize as an avalanche when the time comes. Client answers affirmatively, with serenity in his words. Xivio: you are already in a position to join the temple as a monk, being a student. Go to Master Ergalion, with instruction from him, and in time, you will ascend on your own. The Jaguar thanks him for being accepted as a monk in the Medile Order. Far away from the Talamiskal, hundreds of kilometers to the north, Verdal is an orc kingdom of the eastern plains, its capital is Tarug. The Bankal clan bribed some advisors of the orc king of Verdal, so that recommendations related to the viceroyalty are whispered in their ears. Introducing himself in an aero corvette, of all the giant airships, the aero corvette is the smallest. The official of the viceroyalty is brought to the throne room. The orc king, an old man, can barely sit down and listen to what they have to say. Zargon: we offer King alliance. They join us and we will support you with troops to conquer yours enemies. The king can whisper a few words, and his assistant repeats them so that those who are far away can hear. Verdal doesn't want enemies, it wants allies. Zargon: that's why we offer you our alliance, king. No. We don't want enemies. Whispering to the Zargon. Yakarde: the king is senile and does not understand what they say. But we can take advantage of whoever he were to be the successor to him. Zargon: yes, take charge of the embassy in the kingdom, and keep us informed of everything. Your objective will be to win Verdal as an annex. Now the Yakarde, a third-level official of the Bankal clan, is left as ambassador in charge of the offices in Tarug, the capital of Verdal, and his main mission will be to spy on behalf of the Viranti to get a new ally. Beneath the Ptolemaical citadel, a whole series of tunnels extend, the catacombs, that lead beyond the city limits, to the interior of the forest. From there, continuing for several kilometers, passing the first hills of the mountain range, you reach a castle, demolished and hidden by the vegetation. The orc advisor Raskelin, on certain occasions, is absent from his duties as an advisor, heading through secret passages, from his chamber to the catacombs, and from there to the forest, to go through it to the abandoned castle. Raskelin informs his master-in-command, Xkalistar Sinister, about any event that was in the palace, leaving no detail unclear. Xkalistar, a reptile that was possessed by the sinister entity. He is the one behind all the evil that there is. Xkalistar, the rings, I must get them at any cost to be able to activate our portal. In the dark dimension, billions of skeleton troops are waiting for their agent on this plane. Sinister, inhabitant of the evil ring and who takes possession of whoever is the bearer of it, opens the portal for them to invade. The objective of Sinister is to open an evil dimensional portal that is built in the Dark Valley, 100 kilometers southwest of the citadel of Ptolemaical, surrounded by mountains. Demonid, a low-medium range demon, is his assistant on this plane, and he took possession of the Raskelin advisor, whom he secretly controls. The skeletons, billions of them, are waiting for the portal that will lead them to the Solarium system to open for them to pass and invade. Notes. Thank you for reading my book. It was only the first 5 chapters of the 21 in the first book. I have finished this first book, and the second, and the third. Now, in the beginnings of 2023, I am writing the 4th book, of the descendants of this first characters. They grandchildren, and so on, almost 40 years in the future. About the traduction. Thanks to Google and the Google Translate. But it don't do it very well, so I have the rest of the bulk and translate my work from Spanish to English. Google Translate make the 90% of the translation, the other 10% I put to work in the labor. I live in Argentina, we speak Spanish. I live in a town 50 kilometers west outside Buenos Aires city. I work as a technician, and I love to write. Since I was young, at middle of 90s, I write short stories in papers, then when I have a computer, I pass to digitalize. I love Star Wars and the Lord of the Rings. So I create my own work, much mix of fantasy and epic. I have a YouTube channel, Xkalistar. Most of its videos are in Spanish. I want to publish my work, it isn't rely in Spanish, but I hope to translate to another languages, English included. With the help of native speakers, they can found the turns on the languages, and so on. I would like my work to be published in a CO edition company. At a price that rounds us $1,000, they make the bulk of maquetation, edition, and so on to publish a work. You can help me with a donation, to reunite that sum. I have in mind some CO edition companies settled in Buenos Aires city. I have a Payoneer account. Client ID 48266719. In Argentina Bank. Banco Provincia de Buenos Aires, BAPRO. CBU 0140044103512660348615. Or you can buy some of my art published at OpenSea platform. OpenSea.com. Search author, Saint Sham. Artwork, Xkalistar. You can find various pictures, created by me, images of great resolution, around 10,000 x 6,000 pixels. I make it using Blender software, as the images that illustrate the books. The images are related to the story of Xkalistar. Maybe can be published with the books, or maybe not. But they are in the same storyline. So, thank you to read and reach this part. Enjoy Xkalistar tale.